Well, hello and welcome to Little State Big Voices with my fabulous co-host Tracy and myself Shahida. I don't know why I took second on that one. That was weird. But anyway, you know why? Again, because when we have a man in the middle, I get flustered. Like what's going on?
Hey
What's going
y'all,
on?
listen, you all know how Shahida gets a little hot and bothered when there's just a little tiny
Okay.
bit of testosterone on the pod. She
Yeah.
gets hot and
Yeah.
bothered. So
You know,
oh,
I can't help it. I
he brought
can't
the
help it.
guns to the gun. What we
So
gonna
we do
do?
have a guest today, and Tracy is going to do one of her fabulous introductions. But before we jump into our guest, I just have one little thing to say. I'm not totally feeling myself. I have big emotions right now after Biden dropped out today. And I know a lot of people are running nervous and they are afraid, and we might hit back on it maybe later in the week. But we do have this fabulous guest. But I did want to say that, he did endorse Kamala, and I hope people look into her and please definitely don't follow the narrative that has been set for her because there's a lot of negative narrative about Kamala, and right now she is what we have standing between us and I'm not being hyperbolic here, a fascist government that really wants to take the rights of African American and people of color rights, and not to mention women. So something we need to think about. I have big emotions today, and they're not good. They're not good. But releasing that, and we're gonna bring in our guest, our host. And our host Tracy is going to introduce him with one of the. I told him. I said when Tracy introduces you, you don't know who she talking about, and you be like, "That's me." You didn't. I didn't even realize I was that fabulous. So
I'm
hit
ready.
it
I'm
up,
ready.
Tracy.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
So first of all, I'm saging all over this pod. We saging this pod from any of
Stage
the
is
nonsense.
this.
Sage it. Some Palo Santo, all that stuff is going up and through. We clearing the air. So without further ado, I just want to say that I'm so excited about this guest being on. I was like, yes, I was really excited to deep dive in. So the person that we have here with us today is someone who has been rocking. When I tell you rocking the Providence poetry scene, it's like first of all, your girl is not into poetry like that. Like I love poetry. I love hip hop, which is poetry, but spoken word poetry, like I like it, but this person I'm going to go ahead and say made me love it. So let me go. Let me go into it. So who we have with us
Look at them blushing.
today, okay, is an actor, a poet, a storyteller from Providence, Rhode Island, who started acting at the age of 17 and has done an array of stage productions ranging from Shakespeare to modern contemporary theater, speaking bilingual parts, Spanish speaking roles, and has been on camera playing Demetrius on the Boston based web series, The Pineapple Diaries. If you don't know, now you know, check it out, Google it, and start watching it. And Jason Myers on the 18-time award winning hip hop horror short. Did you know that there were hip hop horror shorts? People,
No.
I did not. I did not. I know now, specifically Deep Red, and I saw the prosthetic makeup for that. It looks very intense. So if you're
Oh
into
yeah.
horror and you're into hip hop, get to the Googles. All right. So as a poet, this performer has performed nationally on poetry slams representing the Lizard. I can't talk. I can't talk. Lizard Lounge team in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and you know we're from Boston, so we rep Cambridge too. That's our little sister.
Much love.
And in 2013, his team made the top 8 in the country, in the United States of America. Top 8, okay? And this person has graced the stages of countless schools, fundraisers, conferences, and even random hole in wall
I'm sorry.
and dive bars. I ain't done. I ain't done, son. He's a self-described lover of language who seeks both the wittiness of language to entertain and using the purpose of language to create emotion or messages throughout. the audience and wanted to reach out and really connect with people. So, who is this? Who is this man? Harpo, who this man? It is none other than Rudacious Cabrera. Now you can clap.
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Yeah. Can I just say the way you just said his last name? Oh my god.
Cabrera?
Yeah, I mean, I'm full English, full Black American. I don't have the nice roll of the tongue that makes Spanish sound good. When I do it, it sounds like I'm just learning off of Sesame Street. You sound like this is your native tongue. It just sounds so good. That made you even
Indeed.
sexier. The way she said your name made it even sexier,
Oh
sir.
yeah. Nah, I know my hats ain't gonna fit no more because my head just got gassed up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm feeling good about
Listen,
myself right now. You
listen.
know what I mean? So thank you for that.
This is a multicultural podcast. We had to bring the Dominicanos out, okay?
Ya tú sabes, ya tú sabes.
Ya tú
Okay.
sabes.
And I'm over here.
Vamos.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Well, welcome to our podcast, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Again, Tracy has done nothing but speak highly of you. She has seen you live. I have only seen you on Instagram now, and I get why she's impressed. But I also know that seeing something on Instagram is nothing compared to seeing it
Oh yeah.
live. So I do look forward to actually, catching you live very soon.
So
Especially with
I
me. I know. I was just gonna say. I know my performance in person is just way different versus like when it's like caught on camera and stuff like that. I kind of have a love hate relationship with cameras a little bit, but in person though, it's different. That's my court. That's my football field. That's my boxing ring. That's all that. You know what I'm saying? So we're
So I first saw you at Amaziah the Great's birthday celebration hosted by Vlad. So the two events that I've seen you at were both hosted by Vlad, who's known around Providence. He's like the host with the most, I guess you could say, around the area, and he's done a lot of poetry um slams or presentations and things like that. So when I that time when I saw you at Lit Art, that was like my first introduction to you as a live artist, for my first time seeing you live. And I was like, wow, like really impressed. And like, we kind of like, we're like, okay, let's follow on Instagram. Let's, we did the
yeah,
pleasantries or whatever. But
absolutely.
like actually seeing you the second time at Afroverse, which I think was volume 11, that just happened at Hide and Seek, what was called Hide and Seek, and it happened at Hide. On in downtown Providence, you did a set that you said when you got up there, you were like, it's about to be a movie. He had the sheet, he had the thing that the movie
The
directors
slate.
clap, I don't even, the slates. He had the slate and clap. I was like, oh, what's going to happen right now? And when I tell you, this man performed, he he performed. Like I said, I found a new appreciation for poetry through you and the
Word.
other artists in the Providence area that are kind of doing this renaissance. So if you could even speak to what's happening with poetry in Rhode Island right now, that would be amazing.
Because it is huge. Yeah.
Well, right now, first of all, thank you for that. And but I say right now, it's like a new wave at the moment, of poetry, with there's like a new crowd that's like engaging, and it's a younger crowd too at that. When I was coming up, I feel like I was probably the youngest person around. You know what I'm saying? Like at the venues that I was going to and performing at, and it's so wild because a lot of the cats that are now doing their thing, they was probably like 10, 8, 10 years old or whatever when I was like outside really like ripping and running a decade ago and stuff like that. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a new scene that is like very very enthusiastic. You know what I mean? And they have a big online presence now. Whereas like when I was outside, social media wasn't as big of a thing. Like Facebook was still pretty prevalent and stuff like that. and you do the event invites and stuff like that, and you try to gauge like how many people are actually going to show up versus who put interested on the Facebook events and stuff. But right now it's a very enthusiastic scene, and a scene that has a lot of potential. I think for right now the scene is very fun, which like for a long time poetry was always something that, depending on what venue you went to, you had to be really, really into it to really enjoy. Because it was very niche, you know what I'm saying, when I was coming up, especially with certain venues. Certain venues had more of a funner environment. Like the Lizard Lounge was one of those places that was very fun, but then there was other places that they didn't put the fun in the forefront. They really was like honing in on the craft of it. Their style of poetry was a lot more like literary and like a lot more descriptive and slow. And then other places, like I said, were more fun and performative, and I fit more into those spaces, even though I did go to the other spots as well because I'm just a fan overall. But I think right now the scene has like, it has a fun energy to it at the moment, where people are coming out, people are bringing dates, you know what I'm saying, to a poetry night and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like that's usually the tall tale sign of like, this is something that people are just enjoying as a fun night out. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying?
So one of the things that we're noticing, like you said, it seems like it's more fun. And if you could just do one thing, I feel like you are cut off, and I'm not getting you in the middle, and we want everybody to see your face
You want to
clearly. Are
see
you?
that whole body,
Yeah,
yada
there
Do you
you
yada.
need me to?
go.
Do you
There,
mean
no,
okay? Stay right here.
you're
Okay,
good.
right.
You're good. You're good. You're good. I just want to make sure. I don't want
Got you.
anybody
Got you.
like emailing us and saying like, "Sis, why don't you have that man's face clear all the time?" I wanted to see it all the time. But one of the things that Tracy and I have noticed, especially since we started doing this podcast, and our goal has always been to highlight people of color, African Americans, and other people in Rhode Island and the art world. And we have just been stunned at how much poetry and how many events are actually out there. And I don't know if you guys are getting paid, or if you're just like creating these venues just for the love of the art. And you did say, like, part of your poetry is that you're kind of like, do you more have like a hip hop vibe, or how would you really describe what it is that you try to bring to this enormous scene that's happening in Rhode Island?
Well, I'm kind of in the space now where it's like I'm like the elder statesman of the scene.
Uh,
Kind of, I'm like the uncle of like the scene at the moment. You know what I mean? Because I've been around for over a decade and stuff like that. Right now the scene, it's more independent. Like people are just trying to do stuff. Probably with the exception of like maybe Mr. Orange, Demont Combs, where he's been working with grants and stuff like that to really really get artists paid, and he's been bringing in artists who have been getting paid for performing for decades. You know what I'm saying? Like not too long ago, I know he brought Reggie Gibson, which I don't know if you're familiar with. Well, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with it. But the movie Love Jones, that
Hmm.
movie is actually based on Reggie Gibson's relationship with his wife. He's
Oh
in the movie
wow.
too. Like
oh,
when
get
the first scene that they go to, like the poetry slam, the brother that had the dashiki on and stuff like that was doing poetry, that's Reggie Gibson, and he's a legendary poet out of Chicago, and Demont brought him, so Demont is like doing a lot of stuff, working with grants to be able to bring those type of performers to the scene. But other than that, everybody else, like Vlad and TDN and stuff like that, people are really doing stuff more independently right now. And so, there's not a ton of money circling around.
Mhm.
I know for myself personally, I try to still show love as best as I can. I still got to respect my price that I've worked for over the years. You know what I'm saying? But like, my rule is, if I see somebody starting something new, then I'll show love the first time. You know what I mean? Like, I'll show love
Mhm.
unless there's something special that happens where maybe I have an opportunity to help somebody else get a feature, or like I remember I did a battle, me and my man Midnight from Connecticut. We did a battle at TDN like 2 years ago and stuff, and it was like one of the most phenomenal poetry nights that has ever happened locally. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was beautiful from beginning to end. The opening acts that we had were my peers. Queen was also there that night. Some of the people that are now like doing their thing, like Vlad. Vlad was one of the opening acts for, you know what I'm saying, my peoples from out of town that night. And it was a beautiful night. And so shortly after that, then Vlad started his night. So I understand that it's a trickle down effect. Like, things have to take time to build. And right now, I think right now is a time where people are building their foundation. People are trying to find where they fit in. Am I more of a performer? Am I more of an event curator? You know what I'm saying? Like, what space do I fall into with this? You know what I'm saying? And so I just try to play my part and try to give advice. You know, I always tell people my DMs are open. You know, like, I can't be at every event, but my DMs are open. So if you got any questions about performing or anything like that, I always try to extend myself. If I come up with any ideas, I'm like, yo, you should work with this person, and you know what I mean, start something. Like, you know, I just try to tell people what I think from my standpoint. And thankfully, because of the respect that I have garnered since reintroducing myself to the scene, because I had to reintroduce myself, because like I said, when I was outside, you know what I mean? These cats was like 8, 10 years old, you know what I'm saying? Maybe like 14. I'll give them that much. Maybe like 14, you know what I'm saying? But some of them might even like there's a lot of people now doing their thing. Like, shout out to Ty Cooper. I performed at his high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I met him when he was in high school. You know what I'm saying? I got booked. They had me come in and do something for the students. I'll never forget it. It was during lunchtime, and me not being that much older than them, I wasn't that far removed from high school, so I knew that headspace of like, they're gonna do this long, boring intro, and we gotta wait for this. I'm like, yo, I told the teachers, I was like, yo, don't even worry about an intro. And I walked into the lunchroom, and I walked on top of one of the tables and just started doing one of my poems, like, at max volume, and just caught everybody's attention from there. And then we just had them all eating out the palm of my hand. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew that would throw them off, and it would let them know, like, no, this isn't just a typical assembly thing or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm always willing to meet the audience where they're at. I'd say that's like my gift as a performer, is that I'll meet you where you're at. I'm gonna figure out what's your energy, what's your vibe or whatever. I'm like, okay, this is where we're at. Let's do this. Let me not try to force you something that you're not in the headspace for. You know what I mean? And then afterwards, you know, Ty Cooper, he came up to me and was like, yo, I rap, da, da, da. He rapped for me and stuff. And then so to see him, you know, develop to where he's at is just a beautiful thing, you know. And I have some of those stories of people that were like, yo, you performed in my school when I was younger, and you know what I mean? And I started going to your plays and stuff. So it's a beautiful thing. So I'm kind of like the elder statesman in the scene right now, just trying to allow the scene become what it needs to be now. I'm not trying to force it to become the scene that I came up in, you know, because competition is not for everybody. I'm crazy. I love the, like, yeah, I'm nuts. I'm like controlled chaos. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I love the competition because it gets me nervous and all that stuff or whatever. I love it, but I understand it's not for everybody. But
So let me ask you a question, because you brought up a couple of things that I find very interesting. And a couple of people I know that they have storytellers come into some of the Providence public schools. You said that, you know, a teacher invited you to do your poetry inside of the, I'm assuming it was a public school.
yeah,
How important, because I feel it's so important. I had taken my grandson to the Motif Awards, which not all of it was like, you know, perfect for his age. He's only 13, but he enjoyed it so much. And for his age, he's not able to see what you do, you know. And so how important do you think it is, especially as you saying you being the uncle now, the big brother, and helping to get that genre to young people, because they think it's either acting or sports, but you know, not too many think about, you know, poetry as
yeah,
being something viable, even though they might have like great timing with something, and they might have a gift for gab or a gift for words, and people like you are so important for our young people to see. So what's the poetry kind of community doing now to see, let the younger people see what's going on in that field?
That is a good question, and there are certain organizations, like obviously you always have AS20 Youth that's always around. You
What's
have
the
you
name of
have
it
certain
again? Can you say that again?
AS220. They have their
Oh,
youth
okay.
program that they
Hmm.
always do.
That's right
Yeah,
near
yeah,
your
yeah.
job, Shahida.
Yep, it is. Yep.
Right near
Yep, yep.
downtown.
They actually AS220 Youth actually always does a dope production every year called Future Worlds, where all of their departments, the visual arts department,
Didn't know
the music department, and the dance department all work together to create like essentially a play. So they get a storyline, and it's like a play made up. So like the students that work in visual arts create the background for it. The students that are in the music program create the songs for it. And then the kids that are in the dance group, they create the choreography for it and stuff like that. And they give it a storyline, and a couple of the kids act in it, are like the main actors and stuff like that. So they just recently did that not too long ago. I actually worked one summer with them. So
that.
that's one organization I could always give love to. I know the Carriage House on the east side is always doing their thing. They've been around for decades. They're always doing all kind of youth programs and stuff like that. Even programs for the youth to actually like be involved in. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this about like younger people today versus like when I was growing up. When I was growing up, we weren't really susceptible to theater and poetry. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm from the G Unit, D Block, Dipset era. You know what I'm saying? That's the era I'm from. You know what I mean? Even myself, I had to recultivate myself or whatever to even be able to embrace it. Once I found it, like I stumbled upon it, you know what I'm saying, by circumstance. It was like if I had the time to like really go into my story, it's so many things that fell in line for me to even be able to find it. Because the school that I found it in, I almost got kicked out of my first semester. So there
What were
was
you
so
doing,
many
Rudy?
things.
What were you doing in those people's school?
Letting them
Fighting.
hands
Okay.
go.
I got it.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna get into all that because you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying. But I went to Central High School, by the way. So
Okay.
for those wondering, but yeah, no. So I had to recultivate myself even to really embrace it. You know what I'm saying? And there was something special that I found about it, outside of just kind of like my natural knack for it, but it gave me a sense of belonging. You know what I'm saying? So I fell in love with it from the first moment that I did it. But I'll say this about the younger kids now. I feel like they're naturally more open to it because the music that, all right, so the younger kids now, their OGs are like the Kanye Wests, the Childish Gambinos, the more artsy kind of rappers. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they're
B.O.B. and those
more,
guys.
yeah, like you know what I'm saying. I feel like they're more susceptible. I've noticed now with since TDN kind of came up. TDN is really what made it clear to me. You know what I'm saying? That like this younger crowd is way more susceptible to it, and they're a lot more enthusiastic about wanting to learn about it because there's certain misconceptions about it that just don't really exist. I feel like to them it's just a genre. Like when I was coming up, I had to find the poets that were talking about things that I was personally interested in. You know what I'm saying? Like the poets that came from certain environments, because you always get the stereotype of like everything is mad jazzy, and you know what I'm saying. Everybody's got fedora
Hmm.
hats and locks. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean.
I just
Everything
picture
sounds like
these
Brother
big
to the Night from.
picture like a zoot suit
Eh,
and like a pocket
yeah, yeah,
watch.
yeah, yeah. Everybody's talking like this and talking like that and all. You know what I'm saying? Like there's that stereotype that always kind of exists, and then now there's people like really really doing a lot of different things with the genre, from whether they still storytelling, but now there's people even like incorporating a lot more of the style of hip hop and rap into it more. It's just it's very freeform and a beautiful thing. So I think right now it just needs to keep growing the way that it's growing, but it also needs to start challenging itself to reach another level of creativity. And the era that I came up in, that I caught the tail end of, was the era of that slam period.
Hmm.
And the competition aspect really, really drove people to be very, very creative on a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now is the time for this era, for this time period, to start finding what is going to be that thing that is going to push your creativity now. We know you can get on stage, we know you can read poetry in front of people, but now can you start going back to the work and looking at it and being like, okay, these are the poems that I see a lot of people gravitate towards. Let me take these now and let me start making these like my main poems. Let me revisit them. Let me re-edit them. Maybe there's stuff I could fix in it, and you know what I'm saying, and really start getting it on its feet, so that 10 years from now you have a plethora, you have a set list of stuff that you can always get paid from.
Mm-hmm.
You
Hmm.
understand what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
that's really the money. It's you set yourself up for years down the line. You know what I mean? The work that I
Hmm.
did on the poems that like I've been operating off muscle memory for a long time. I'm gonna be honest. When it comes to poetry, it's like I've been able to get paid. You know what I'm saying? Decently for poems from like almost 10 years ago. But that's because I did the work to develop them. You know what I'm saying? When I do a poem like Murder She Wrote, there's more than 10 years behind that poem. You know what I'm saying? Of
Mm-hmm.
performances, of me workshopping it, of me doing it in different venues, trying new things with it and stuff like that, you know? So that's what I want for the people that are coming up now. I'm like, yo, I want y'all. Like, I want that for y'all, because you're getting used to performing right now, but even for me, I've been around as long as I have, but there's still people in this state that don't know me. You understand what I'm
I'm like,
saying?
who doesn't know you though? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because from what I saw, like even I see you bringing people. So you mentioned Queen. So for people who aren't familiar yet, that's True Queen. So that's someone who
Mm-hmm.
you brought kind of along on this journey with you. And True Queen like came and tore it up that night too. That was my first time even seeing that poet, and I was like, I don't care what she's doing. If I can't be there, I want other people to know about it. You know what
But
I
she's
mean?
a vet. Let me say that. True Queen is a vet. You know,
Yeah.
True Queen, me and True Queen were on the last slam team that I was on in 2015 when we went to Oakland, California. We were on that same team together. I went to nationals, and both had the same like both kind of left with the same bad taste in our mouths from that experience.
Mm.
Nothing because of what either one of us did. It was just stuff that happened at the actual slam or whatever, that we both kind of was just like, I'm all set. I'm all set with this slam stuff. You know what I mean? And then
Mm-hmm.
shortly after that, National Poetry Slam kind of went away anyway. So she came out of retirement for me, actually, when I did the battle with Midnight like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I asked her,
she
I said,
mentioned
yo,
that. She
yeah, she's
mentioned
always
that.
been dope. Yeah,
But
yeah.
so one thing that really intrigued me is that learning, like reading your bio and learning that you actually have an acting background. That like some stuff just started firing off in my head, because when I saw you over the weekend, when I went to the event that you were at Afroverse, I saw you do 5 poems, 5 or 6
Yeah,
poems.
5.
And when I tell you like all different kinds of poems, like I saw the actor come out of you on that stage. I saw you become like 6 different people before my eyes, and you brought
Hmm.
props and everything. Like it just made like such a difference in my experience as an audience member, because like I said, growing up now, so Shahida and I, we can even take walk it back a little bit. We're a little bit, a few just a tiny little bit of a decade before your group. You know, we
Yeah.
for us, art was like, I mean, poetry, as far as the arts were considered, was like Robert Frost, Shakespeare. Maybe they would throw a little Maya
Langston
Angelou in it.
Hughes for me.
Langston Hughes, if they
Word.
wanted to get cute with it. You know what I mean? Those were the
Yeah.
poets that we were exposed to from a public school level. You probably got a little bit more, Shahida, because you went to a blackety black
Yes,
school.
because I didn't have those. I had the Black Renaissance in school, and I
Fire.
had really, great, poets to look to, which I always, and I told you, Tracy, I want to write poetry so bad, but I don't have it. but I can write well. So I think I kind of inflict an element of poetry in my writing because,
Mm-hmm.
'cause I write fiction. So I do, but what you do, and I know you're probably like, no, you can do it. No, I can't. I'm telling you. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut Tracy off, but yeah, I mean, I grew up on that Black Renaissance, and that has really kind of affected how what I think of poets, and I always have held them in such a high esteem.
Right.
So finish your question, Tracy. I'm
Oh,
so sorry.
so yeah, I was like in a roundabout way. I was getting around to saying like for me, what I consider like the poetry, the true poetry that really spoke to my heart was always hip hop, rap. The the real lyricists, and that I'm not knocking any of the newbies out here. Like I love a Glorilla all day long, and I was just bumping it a minute ago. But I
She
like
said,
the Lauren Hills, like
Yeah.
Most
Tupac, come on.
Def. Those are like that. Those were my poets. And then when Def Poetry Slam came out, I think that opened up something for people to say, okay, there is a poetry that speaks to our community. And you actually did a poem that was actually it was someone else's poem, but you did a poem and it was basically a young man from age 4 up until adulthood, and that poem just like blew me away. I think that's a great poem for someone like Darius's age, like 13. That's a poem that kids need to hear at that age, at that very age,
Yeah.
because they're in like almost in the middle of that, where this young man who started out as an innocent 4-year old in the poem goes into manhood, and it's all these experiences encapsulated in a poem that just was like I was literally like on the edge of my seat. Like seriously, it was such a
Oh
good night.
wow.
Well,
It's a
what is my
poem.
question?
That poem you're talking about is called Q and A by Ed Mayberry. Ed Mayberry's from the South. I never forget the first time I actually heard that poem myself in person. It was my first year going to nationals, and it was an underground slam that they would always do at nationals called New Pick, which New Pick wasn't open to the public. New Pick, you had to like know people, so it was only the poets that were like around and stuff like that. So I saw Ed Mayberry in the first round do that poem, and just the way it was building and building and building, and when it got to that line, that is still my favorite line I've ever heard in poetry. When he said, "I'm 21 and doing my second bid. 10 years ain't my brother in here, my father out in the yard. Man, this ain't time service, a family reunion." I couldn't believe, like, I didn't know that was possible, that you could even
Hmm.
put something together like that, because the way I always understood like a punchline was like a bar. Like I'm a hip hop fan, I'm a rap fan too. So it's like I always understood things in like a bar context, but like a specific kind of setup. You know what I'm saying? But with that one, it's like it a line like that is set up literally from the beginning of the poem all the way, and that line probably doesn't come till like halfway through the poem. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like something like that is it's I've been blessed to be able to have what I like to call uh the ceiling broken multiple times as like a fan of poetry. And I feel like that's always what's always brought me back to it. Is like when I have those moments where I see like just a level of creativity that just breaks the possibility of what I even believe this thing to be. And so right now, as like the elder statesman, part of the reason why I did that set was because I wanted to show some of those pieces. I'm doing it through my performance, but I wanted to show some of those pieces because I can't afford to bring those people, like, what I'm saying. If I was to bring every single one of those poets who I cover or whatever, I ain't got no money left. You know what I'm saying? And they earned it. They earned it. They earned to be able to charge what they charge. They're all legends. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to start doing my part in like trying to help expose this new audience that I see that is very enthusiastic, that they clearly want to learn more. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to just do my part, take the respect and the admiration that they have for me, and be able to say, yo, trust me, I got something for y'all that you're gonna be amazed by, and present it to them. And each one of those poems actually, like, I thought of somebody different with each one. Like I thought of somebody different in the scene. You know what I'm saying? To help
Mm-hmm.
inspire them. Like the first one, Praise. I thought of
Yeah.
Haley, who is, what I'm saying, big on bringing her faith and her beliefs into her work and stuff like that. And so that's why I went full on, full on church mode. You know what I'm saying? When I performed that piece, because
Yeah.
Carvin's Lassant is part of a Christian poetry troupe called the Strivers Row. I don't know if he still tours with them, but these are like Christian poets or whatever that have been touring across the country for years, having big turnouts and everything. You know what I'm saying? The second one, Beautiful Biology, was like a love poem, but it was so creative. Louis the B and Nelly, they both weren't there. I'm gonna see them on Thursday. I'm gonna try not to hit them, but I was just saying. But those are the two that I thought of when I did that piece, because Louis always does his love poems, and Nelly takes these like really really creative approaches, and I feel like it's something that he can really really expand on and get like really um, uh, really creative with. The skinhead poem, just like
Shahida, this
the levels
skinhead
of like.
poem, when I tell you, you have to hear it. Crazy. Crazy. But go ahead.
Patricia
Sorry.
Smith. Patricia Smith. The poet who wrote it is Patricia Smith. It's called Skinhead, and her performance of it online, she actually did it on Def Poetry Jam.
Mm.
So that video. So you mentioned Def Poetry Jam earlier. That video that I got the lyrics from or whatever was on Def Poetry Jam. But yeah, but just like a brilliant poem, stepping outside of who you are to try to articulate somebody else's experience, an experience that is outside of your own even like approval, but trying to do your best to understand, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just a brilliant poem. And so, for me, I wanted to do that to show that like there's levels of like getting like uncomfortable with your work and stuff like that. I wanted to be an example of that, because that was uncomfortable for me to even do. I can say it now or
Yeah.
whatever, because I'm not gonna do that piece again. But I put on like I got like a really cheap hat from like Savers and wrote MAGA on it. I got like a flannel shirt and cut the sleeves off, and so I was like really I did the southern accent and all that. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh, okay. I
um,
gotta really. Is
yeah,
it
so
a video of
I
you
went
doing
all the way
it?
there.
Is
Huh?
it video of you doing it?
No.
Okay.
We banned video recording because
Okay.
it was supposed to be something special for just that moment, and also
Yeah.
because this is not my material, and I don't want
Mhm.
any of it getting out there.
Gotcha.
I did this to honor people. I didn't do it to try to steal their work. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so yeah. So I thought of certain people like Vlad or whatever. Vlad has poems where he talks about race and everything like that. And then the Q&A one that we were just talking about. I did that for my boy Truth was there and my homie Manny, who have both been locked up before. And, they talk about their experiences, what I'm saying, growing up in the hood and stuff like that, and getting into the streets and everything. And so to have people actually there that were so receptive to it, that was beautiful to me. You know what I'm saying? It was a beautiful night for sure.
I'm definitely gonna catch one of these shows this week,
It was
probably.
a standing ovation. This man is being modest. When I
You
tell
did
you,
tell me that.
though,
Oh,
like, and I'm kind of glad that there were no phones, because sometimes that can take a little bit away from an experience, just
Yeah.
because you're
mhm.
so busy trying to get the right angle, and am I going live? Like, all we could do was pay attention, and like you could hear a pin drop in the room until that moment when you finished out. Like, the room just erupted in applause. Everybody just jumped to their feet. It was just such a powerful, powerful experience. Like, honestly, I'm just so glad that I was able to take part in it. I want everyone to know about it. We want to make sure that this renaissance with poetry, with art, with music that is happening in Providence gets out. And it's also the fraternity and sorority of it all. It's a partnership. I feel like people are not gatekeeping, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. There probably is a light bit of gatekeeping somewhere, but for the most part, you guys lift each other up. Is from what I can see.
Hmm.
So let me
Yeah.
ask
No.
you a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you getting ready to say
No.
something?
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You touched on you being Dominican, right?
See.
How has your culture? How do impart some of your culture in your poetry, and also, because a lot of times, and I'm only starting to see and hear a lot of Dominican, poets, reaching way back. Before, it has been strictly African American for me or white. So now I'm
Yeah.
starting to, see that there's a lot of, Latinos in this, game as well. So how do you bring that into your poetry, letting us see, pieces of your culture in that, and then going back to your early acting days, this young Dominican playing in Shakespeare. How that all merges together, because it is all part of the American cultural scene, but how do you, as just being Dominican, how do you, reflect that in your stuff?
Well, that all journeys in poetry, in my opinion, start with your journey as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, being Dominican was a journey in itself because I didn't take to Dominican culture when I was younger like that. Like, obviously I grew up in it. I have a grandmother who doesn't speak a lick of English. You understand what I'm saying? So I always had to be forced to speak Spanish, even when my Spanish was horrible when I was younger. And even both my parents, they were born and raised in Dominican Republic. They weren't born here. So there was a language barrier between us growing up because their English wasn't that great and my Spanish wasn't that good. So I had to I took a lot to hip hop culture early on, because my familiarity with being Dominican when I'm younger is really more associated with the church, because I grew up in a church home. We went to church a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I know more old like church songs in Spanish and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Than I do like merengue, bachata, like the stuff that was going on outside. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because that was looked at as secular in my house. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of me even as a kid trying to like maneuver through trying to find where do I even fit in. You know what I'm saying? Of like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a poem that I started writing that I still haven't finished, and the opening lines are like, you know, Dominicans call me gringo, white people call me colored, black people call me Spanish. My childhood was a game of racial hot potato because it just felt like I'm just being bounced around everywhere. You understand what I'm saying? It's like I'm not enough of anything, but then I can also be too much of something depending on where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Makes a
juggle
lot
or
of
whatever
sense.
was like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was like hard to like find like a balance until I realized that like, yo, I'm not meant to fit in. I'm meant to stand out there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm meant to understand a lot of different experiences. You know what I'm saying? And now that I'm older and the arts really kind of forced me to embrace and understand my culture as far as being Dominican and stuff like that. And my Spanish has gotten a lot better because the past, I say, 4, 5 productions that I've been in, they've all had like like Spanish in them. You know what I'm saying? From like when I did the bilingual Shakespeare with it was a collaboration between Rhode Island Latino Arts Association and Trinity Rep. Um, we did The Tempest and Much Ado About Nothing. Those were the two productions that I was in. So it was La Tempestad and Tanta Bulla y Pa qué. That was the names of them.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So and we were taking that in the city and stuff like that, like doing it in parks in the city and stuff. And I'll never forget one moment even where in La Tempestad, in The Tempest, Ariel's monologue is like a big deal. Like that's like the monologue of the show. That's like the highlight of the show, right? So my man Orlando, who was doing the translating for the script, he comes up to me during rehearsal and he goes, "Yo, we got this. If the whole thing is in Spanish, but if you want to incorporate, like, jump back and forth or whatever and do some of the old language still, just let me know." I was like, why? Let's do the whole thing in Spanish. This is a show that's been around for centuries. If people know about it or whatever, then they already know what the monologue is. You know what I'm saying? And if
Mm-hmm.
they don't know, then let's just do the whole thing in Spanish for what? Come on, like that's what we're here for, right? You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I did that whole monologue in Spanish, and but it started to train me, and it was dope because it was the first show where my mother and them, they've always supported me, they've always came out to shows, but it was the first time where it was easier for them to actually follow because there was less of a language barrier. It was like, oh, I was catching it, this is going on, and da, da, da. So so to make it the possibility of making things accessible, and I found it as a new challenge for myself too, to get more comfortable with my Spanish and to find that balance, because there's also an element of being black within that as well, right? That I had to learn, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not obvious, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But I got cousins that, you know what I'm saying, are your complexion, you know what I'm saying? First cousins at that, you know what I'm saying? So it was like growing up, I would see all of this and be like, yo, how are we all Dominican? We all look so different. Like, you know, I didn't know that history. I didn't even know slavery even happened on the island beforehand. You know what I'm saying? When I'm younger. So, like I said, it's been a real big journey, and it really culminated to a beautiful moment with a show called La Broa. We got to do a show at Trinity Rep recently called La Broa, which was about Broad Street in Providence, about the first Latinos and Hispanics that came to Providence, Broad Street. One woman in particular, Doña Fefa, who was the first Latino woman to own a Hispanic like shop. You know what I'm saying? Like a grocery store with actual like Hispanic products and stuff like that from where people came from. And she kind of became like the mother of that community. You know what I'm saying? And not even just Dominicans, but like every Spanish speaking person or whatever in that area that wasn't familiar with speaking English and stuff. And from there, you know, people would get together and start noticing things going wrong and start coming together and start holding meetings. People started opening businesses. People started getting into politics and everything like that. And so the play was about that. And we got to do this show that like honored real people, real local history at that. And I got to meet like my character was I played the first Dominican that ran for office. The first Dominican that ran for office in Providence. And I got to play his character, and he actually came to the show, and I got to meet him. And it's crazy because yo, he looks like he's part of my dad's family. It's crazy. If I show you the picture, it's nuts. It's nuts, yo. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that kind of stuff. But I look at it like you get the moment later on when you embrace the challenge that's immediately in your face. There was no way for me to predict that we was going to end up getting to a place where we're going to be doing a show like La Broa on the Trinity Rep stage that had so much Spanish in it. Like the amount of Spanish that was in that show is like crazy to even think about, because, you know, not for nothing, years ago, whatever, when I was younger, I didn't see our kind of stories being told on the Trinity Rep stage. No disrespect. I love Trinity Rep. I love working there. They're great. But there was a time period with that stage wasn't looked at in that kind of vein. They've recently been doing a lot of work to try to, you know what I'm saying, do the opposite and be more
That's
progressive
progression.
in that kind of sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And the number showed. I think La Broa, made like over 200% profit back or something like that.
That's amazing.
Because it was like people got excited over it. You know, a lot of these people that we were honoring, you know, we have an epilogue at the end where we name all the names of the people. You know what I'm saying? That the show was based around and stuff. And a lot of them would be there. Their kids would be there. Their grandkids were there and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And so it was like lightning in a bottle. Like you couldn't predict that. Like it was like a beautiful moment of just like, it just hit, and then it just caught a buzz around the city. And it was just crazy. People that I hadn't seen in years. You know what I'm saying? That I hadn't seen since my mom's church, really. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, a certain person's funeral, you know what I'm saying? That's like related to, you know what I'm saying? Like childhood friends of mine finally popped up. You know, I had a friend who I hadn't seen since I used to go to house parties, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And then now she's like popping up or whatever. She's like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you, this and that, you know? So it's one of those things where it's like, you have to, again, like I said, you have to embrace the challenge, the moment that is there, and embrace it fully, and then that prepares you for later on. Because I've always heard this, and I definitely believe it, that success is when opportunity and preparation meets. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when the challenge is there, you have to embrace it, because that's going to be your preparation for later on. You don't know when the big opportunity that's going to like put you above over the edge or whatever, that's going to be that thing that's going to solidify you and stamp you. You never know when that's going to come. This art thing is not easy. That's why I said in the interview with Vlad afterwards, Tracey was there, I said, yo, I don't knock people that just want to do art as a hobby. because this is
Mhm.
hard to this.
Yeah.
It's hard to pursue.
I
It's
could
not
never
easy.
do,
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I could never, like, as many things as I think I am talented at. There's just there's something, part of it is, like you said, is preparation, but part of it is just, I think you're just born with a thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can, even when you were talking about that poem and you were like, okay, this line was set up at the very beginning. Like, I don't have those kind of, my mind does not work that way. But there's some
Yeah.
things that you could just feel in your body, like in your solar plexus, that other people can't, and that's why you're great at this. I mean, I think my next question for you would be like, what, since this is your thing, this is your path, this is your career, what's next, or what do you want to see next for yourself?
Um, I'll be honest. I'll say what's next after I say this, but I'll be honest. In recent years, I've gotten to a place where it's like I just trust the universe. I
Mm-hmm.
trust I trust that when you think of the word like attraction, right?
Mm-hmm.
You usually think of that in like a romantic context, or like a context of like, you know, attracting someone you want to be romantic with, right? But attraction is more of a neutral word, and like the same elements that go into attracting a romantic partner, the same things that attract a job opportunity, attract you know what I'm saying, attract a fan base and things like that. And so in recent years, I just been like just really really focused on my personal self development, and stuff has been finding its way to me. I also understand that it's also my privilege being here in Rhode Island, that I've been here for such a long time, and my story is actually very important here. I know that if I move somewhere else, that's all out the window. You know what I'm saying? That privilege is gone if I move somewhere else. But I have no problem doing that in that other space. But for right now, I'm fine with just like, you know, I got some things in the works. You know, knock on wood, if everything goes according to plan. I got something pretty big actually that'll be really really good for my career coming up. And I don't want to say it just yet because I ain't get that contract or my first check yet. That is, it's only official when I get the contract and the
Mhm.
first check. You know what I'm saying? But so that's pretty much that. But as far as like what I want to see from the scene, like I said, I want to see the younger cats start to get theirs and start to establish themselves for the long run. The people that really want it that way, I should say. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know it's fine. It's fine if it's just a hobby. We need people that just enjoy it too, because they make up
Mhm.
part of the fan base. And you know, it sometimes people only need that short release from it. Like they only need to just come and just maybe sometimes hop on an open mic every now and then, and just for some people that's good enough, and that's totally fine. We need those people because those people are a lot of times professionals in other fields, and you know, you need people that are actually like around for when their job or organization that they work for says, oh, we want to do an event, and you know, we need artists, and they could go, oh, well, I've been going to these open mics and seeing this guy Vlad would be great for that, or if I've seen Louis the B would be great for that, or Nelly Nell or whoever, you know. So I think my role as an elder statesman is it's on me to kind of put the pressure on them to say, hey, you are, as an artist, you are the last line in defense whenever there's something being fought for in the community. And they want it. When people, there's a lot of people who fight for art.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people dealing with massive headaches because they're dealing with these institutions that don't really know what's going on. They don't got their ear to the streets. And a lot of times they want to hire people that do got their ear to the streets, but then want to stop them from having free range to do what they need to do. So
Mm-hmm.
there's people that I know personally that are going through having headaches, migraines of dealing with people, whatever, that like don't even know the specifics in difference between like an open mic versus a poetry slam, but yet they're the ones in control of the money that's going to pay the poets.
And those are things that
Yeah.
I think laymen don't know. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I honestly could, if you said poetry slam, if you said, I know what open mic is like, like unplanned, and you get up because it's like open. But could you explain to us, like, what is the difference between, say, a slam and like the different types of?
Yeah. So before I say that, just to put a button in on it, on what I was saying before,
Mhm.
it's just I just feel like people. I want people to understand that like you need to up your craft and up the quality of your performance and presentation, because when that moment comes, when there is people that start to put some money behind it, you need to be up to par so that they can look at it and say, okay, that was worth investing in. You know, so that's just the button end that I want to put on that. And that's what I want for the scene. So now to explain the difference between an open mic and poetry slam. An open mic is essentially just an open mic. You sign up, you get, you know, whatever time limit they give you, whether it's 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever, and the mic is open for you to do what you want. You know what I'm saying? So if it's a poetry open mic, obviously show up to do poetry. The Carriage House actually has something really cool where they do open stage. So, because they're more of a theater. So, like, you can go over to do poetry, you could do a choreographed dance, you can rap a song, you could do whatever you want over there, right? But open mic is that, right? Some people, you know, some open mics, they allow you to use music, some they don't. They're just straight up a cappella and stuff like that. And normally an open mic will have like a feature act for the most part, you know, usually. Which will be like the headliner, where they'll get more time than everybody else. So that's essentially an open mic. Now, a poetry slam is a specific competition. I always like to compare it. It's almost like Olympic style competition, in the sense of it's not head to head. It's not a rap battle. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, Tracey, blah, 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 and I'm, you know what I'm saying, firing shots at you and shit. Like, nah, and ain't like, oh my God,
No, you're fine.
okay,
No, go for it. Listen.
Okay, I censored myself earlier when I was quoting the poem
we're
or
here
whatever.
for it.
I wasn't sure.
Shahida,
So,
just tell your parents not to listen on that part.
Okay.
they'll be alright. They'll be alright.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be alright. They be alright. They know they son. But so poetry slam, I always compare it to it's like Olympic style competition, in the sense of if you have a slam with 8 poets, you have 8 poets that are going to get up there and do their thing individually, right? The poet goes up on stage, they have 3 minutes with a 10-second grace period. They go up there, they perform their piece within that time frame, and then they get off stage, and the host comes back up, and they have 5 judges in the crowd that are randomly selected. The only qualification that the judges have is that they can't know anybody in the slam. That's the only qualification. So it could be someone who's studied the literary arts in college and has a degree in fine arts, or you could just have somebody that just was like, oh, I just saw this and I just was like, oh, I've never even been to one of these. I don't even know what poetry is. That person could possibly judge it as well.
Wow.
You know, so it's their only qualification is they can't know anybody in the slam, right? So you have 5 judges. They have they give you a score from 0 to 10, preferably using decimals to help alleviate any ties. And they get the 5 scores. They drop the high score and they drop the low score, and the 3 in the middle becomes that poet's score. So the highest you can get is a perfect 30. You know what I'm saying? And so the night just repeats in that same way. And you know what I'm saying? So it's a points game. You know what I'm saying? You're competing for the points with the judges and everything like that. I believe it's a half a point deduction for every 10 seconds you go over the time limit, if I'm not mistaken. And you can't use any props. You can't use any props that are not readily available to any of the other poets, because that's what helps to keep it fair. So like, if you can sing, you can do that, obviously, because that's your body you're doing, but you can't like I used to have a poem called Baggy Jeans, right, that I used to perform a lot in slam. And I did it at Messiah the Great's event.
Yes.
Yeah, my poem Baggy Jeans. And you remember at the end, the last line was to keep a sky full of sunshine in the pocket of my baggy jeans, and I put my hand in my pocket like I'm putting the whole sunshine in my pocket. When I perform in slam, I would never do that, because the second I put my hand in my pocket, someone can go, oh, his baggy pants are a prop. Like, it's literally like, yo, poets, they get petty. They get so petty. I remember a story. My sis, Cole Rodriguez, one of my favorite people that I met in slam. She did this poem about it was like an erotic poem or whatever and stuff. and she had like this really cute like veil kind of thing or whatever over her shoulders, like a scarf kind of thing or whatever, and it slipped at the end of the poem or whatever. But it slipped at like a perfect moment in the poem. It almost looked like a performance thing, but it wasn't. Somebody really tried to call that. It was like, oh no, that thing that she did, she used it as a prop. Like
That
she trying to be too
elbow,
sexy.
that elbow was giving too much.
Yeah, so like you can't use anything that is not available to the other poets and stuff like that,
Interesting.
unless it's a personal gift that you have, like I said, like singing or dancing or something. Basically, you can only use you. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And but the level of creativity that I've seen in that, when you start to incorporate like teams, you know what I mean? Because they used to be national competitions, national poetry slam, and individual poetry slam. I think the four big national poetry slams that used to go on was nationals, which was the teams. There used to be IWIPs, which is individual world poetry slam. There used to be WAPs, which is Women of the World Poetry Slam, where they would be the top women of each venue. And there's another one that's still actually going now that's independent from all those other ones. Those other three were all ran under PSI, Poetry Slam Inc. But they're not around anymore. But the fourth one that I've always heard good things about, but I never went, is called Southern Fried, which is like a national competition with teams that happens in the South and stuff like that. And I've always heard great things about it, but I never had the chance to go. But yeah, so basically like that's the basic rundown or whatever of poetry slams. The difference between poetry slams versus open mic.
Very interesting. Now we have run up on our hour.
Yes, we
But-
have. That came quick.
I know it really did. I feel like we only been like 10 to 15 minutes in. But you have to leave us. Like I said, I only saw you on Instagram. So you have to leave us with just a small snippet of one of your favorite poems that you
And
love.
you don't have to censor yourself because we know you
No,
have
you
a
do not.
range.
I'll give you a quick 1 minute joint.
Okay. We ready.
I have this attraction for pitch blackness. The darkness sparks this conscience. What you call insomnia, I call a blank canvas. I can't seem to rest when I keep thinking up questions like, does talent belong to the talented? Or does the universe use artists for channeling? Does every verse exist before it is written? Experience inspires lyrics, so does writer's block come from not living? Maybe I'm tripping. I use too many words to say simple things like, I believe ego and celebrity become sin when we forget this skill is a gift. It was never ours to begin. The Lord giveth, the law taketh. Keep your skill sharp because the sword is sacred. I'm a word bank with a broken levee, a tsunami thought wave. I meditate to articulate these open floodgates. You might find me sleepy during the day, but wide awake at night. Don't know why, but shit, that's just the way I write. Peace.
I'm telling you, y'all don't understand. You don't understand. All right, Rudacious, tell the people where they can find you. Be that on social media, be that in person. Hit us with where we can get some more.
I'm on the socials. I'm on Instagram at It's Rudy Ru, ITSRUDYRU. That's where I'm the most active. I love Instagram. I share everything on my Instagram onto my Facebook, so you can, find the same information on there. Although I'm not as frequent on Facebook. Rudy Cabrera, Cabrera. I have videos on YouTube that you can look up. I haven't put anything new on YouTube in like the longest, so maybe I need to start getting back on that. But as far as next shows, this Thursday I will be at Crib PVD. Me and Queen will be co-featuring once again at TDN, the Daily Note, which is Louis and Coogee, their event. And then let me see. Then the 28th, the 28th, I'll be in Springfield, Mass. at Dewey's Lounge. Shout out to my homegirl, Lyrical Faith. It's an event that she hosts, an open mic that she hosts that I'll be featuring. So I'm gonna be doing a set there. Then on the 29th in Providence, shout out to Chip Doug. I'm gonna be on performing at Broad Street for an event that he's doing. I think Trav Black is performing. I think DJ Franchise is DJing and stuff like that. And then there should be some play announcements coming up soon too. So yeah, so off the top of my head,
Exciting.
that's
Follow on Instagram. You'll get put on those notifications so you can know when Rudy's going to be in a city near you.
And my DM's always open. So if you got a question or anything like that, just hit me up. It's no problem.
It was great having you, and I look forward to seeing you in person, live, performing very soon. So
yeah, and I'm turning up on Thursday too. Like I did the super serious set at Afroverse. This one I'm doing. It's all fun stuff. I'm doing this.
What time
We're gonna turn it into a party.
On Thursday start.
I believe doors open at 8.
Okay.
We're gonna have to pull up, Shahidah.
Yeah, they do have.
You know,
they have other features.
They have other
features performing as well.
But I think I can make it. I think I can.
They have other really dope features on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Louis the B's gonna be performing that night. Nelly Now, a couple other people that are really dope as well. So it should be a fun night. Like I said, this one is a victory lap for Afroverse going so good. So you know what I mean. I'm not gonna do that set again because I was Tracey. You know that was demanding.
That was a once in a lifetime. If you listen.
And I'm serious when I said I'll never do that whole set again in one shot like that. Mm-hmm. But I might do one or two of those poems or whatever every now and then. You know what I'm saying? So, but I probably won't do the whole set again because that was a lot. That was a lot.
Wow. All right.
And also because I would have to get paid a certain amount to be able to do those poems again because of how demanding it is and taxing. Mm-hmm. And also too, I would also have to get paid an amount that would be comfortable for me, but also I would have to reach out to all those poets and be able to pay them as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I would refuse to do that set again. You know what I mean? I did it that night and I did it for free because it was a personal challenge. I needed something to kind of shake me out of, my personal life has changed a lot. So I needed something to kind of start forcing me to get into my personal routine with art again. Mm-hmm. So that was why I did it for me. But yeah, no, for me to do that again, I would have to be able to reach out to them, get their clearance for one, and be able to pay them and also be able to pay myself. So that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That I don't know if anybody really got. Like
But it's a form of healing. Like Shahidah said, we're in a real, another unprecedented historical moment in the world right now. We just got that big announcement that President Biden is dropping out of the race, like Shahidah said, not to bring it too crazy and bring it down because we just had such a great interview. But honestly, listening to poetry, listening to your favorite music, doing the things that calm your inner spirit, this is going to be part of the healing process to figure out what's going on. Right now, people are anxiety and nerves are at an all-time high, but if you could find peace within yourself in moments like this is, part of what's going to help us as a society. So thank you for healing the world.
Thank you.
And I'm down to come back anytime y'all want me back. So, you know what I'm saying? So just let me know, all right?
More to come, most definitely. Right. Thank you so much.
No doubt. Much love, for sure. Y'all be cool, all right?